Tonight, for the first time, the three frontrunners in the race for Louisiana governor will share a stage. The face-off is at the Union Theater on the campus of Louisiana State University, just miles from where one of them will lead the state for the next 4 years. Democrat John Bel Edwards shocked the political world with his win in 2015.
The people of Louisiana want to keep moving forward.
Two Republicans want to send Edwards packing from the governor's mansion. Congressman Ralph Abraham is in his third term on Capitol Hill.
From day one, we will attack the budget.
And businessman Eddie Rispone, who founded what is now one of the largest engineering and construction companies in the country.
And we need someone with serious business skills, someone that knows what a big budget is.
Listen tonight for the differences in how they stand on key issues like taxes, health care, and education. The first governor debate starts now.
You are joining us live from the Student Union Theater on the campus of Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge for the first live televised Louisiana Governor's Debate of 2019. Good evening, I'm Jackie Jovic, evening anchor at NBC6 News in Shreveport. Joining me tonight are anchors Chad Sabady from Baton Rouge. He works at Fox 33, and Fred Childers of Local 33. Our debate tonight is being broadcast statewide on both television and radio. We welcome our viewers and listeners in Shreveport, New Orleans, Monroe, Lake Charles, Lafayette, and Alexandria. And be sure to follow along on social media using our hashtag LAGovDebate.
We would now like to introduce you to the three candidates who have qualified for tonight's debate. The order of introduction has been determined by a random card draw. First, a Republican businessman who founded Industrial Specialty Contractors, Mr. Eddie Rispone. Second, a Democrat currently serving as Louisiana's governor, Mr. John Bel Edwards. And finally, a Republican congressman currently serving his third term representing the 5th District of Louisiana, Mr. Ralph Abraham. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and for being with us here tonight.
That's a lie,
You are
Governor.
just 100% false.
That's a lie.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. We're going to get Mr. Rispone in on this, give him a chance to respond to this as well. Mr. Rispone, you have 30 seconds.
It's fun to watch two
I'm sorry,
politicians go after each other. I'm just a business person.
For our next question, we'll go to Jackie.
Do I get to answer that one about work requirements?
I'm sorry, Mr. Rispone. I apologize.
You're having too much fun watching these two politicians.
They are a little distracting. I'm sorry. Yes, how do you
That's
feel
okay.
about...
I'll keep you straight. I'm a businessman.
Thank
okay?
you. I appreciate that.
The consequences of this election are very, very significant.
Democrat John Bel Edwards' victory in deep red Louisiana 4 years ago won national intrigue.
John Bel Edwards.
But it's the state issues the governor hopes will spark a second term.
The deficits are behind us. We've had 3 consecutive surpluses. So we have the opportunity now to continue to govern responsibly, but make necessary investments in critical priorities like education.
The governor says he hopes to raise public teacher salaries to the southern regional average. He also wants to invest more in early childhood education and keeping the TOPS tuition aid program afloat. With help from a sales tax, the Republican-led legislature agreed to renew last year.
Everything I've done has been bipartisan, and we've moved our state forward. We're in a much, much better position.
And while Republican challenger Eddie Rispone suggests Louisianians take cues from the nation's chief executive,
We're going to have a conservative governor, an outsider, a businessman,
Edwards argues he likes his politics closer to home.
My opponent has no choice but to try to nationalize this election because his vision for the state of Louisiana is one that would take us back to the failed policies of Bobby Jindal. He knows that's not going to be well received by the voters here, so he's trying to distract.
The governor defends his moves to expand Medicaid, reinvest criminal justice funds,
thank you, John Bell,
and in a second term continue what he calls a strong working bond with President Trump.
John,
even as the commander-in-chief endorses his rival.
John Bell Edwards has not done the job.
He's doing what political parties and political leaders always do. But at the end of the day, there will be a season to govern. It'll start on Monday, and that good working relationship will resume.
If you're reelected Saturday, whatever the margin, there will be a group of Louisiana voters who voted for your opponent. What would you say to them if you win a second term?
Well, first of all, that's always the case in every election. It's only people like Fidel Castro who won with 100% of the vote. But I'm going to continue to be the governor for everybody, regardless of party, regardless of geography, and we're going to move forward together.
Harrison Golden, your local election headquarters.
Let's think of it this way. You're trying to hire a CEO for a $30 billion operation.
Eddie Rispone has been the CEO of Baton Rouge-based ISC Constructors for 30 years, but now he says he's ready for a new job and prepared to give Louisianians new jobs too.
Louisiana should be number one in the South when it comes to jobs and opportunities, and we're not. We're not riding the Trump wave.
Rispone has injected $12.5 million of his own dollars into his first ever bid for governor.
I'm Eddie Rispone,
which first got household attention with this ad earlier this year.
And I support our president more than ever against these liberal lunatics running now.
He likens himself to another chief executive.
That's how much I like Eddie.
And he finishes the race with that billionaire's support after multiple Trump administration visits.
You're going to have a great new Republican, tremendously successful man as your governor, Eddie Rispone.
Do you think this governor's race here in Louisiana is a sign of what to expect come 2020?
Well, I would say this. I think Louisiana is going to send a message to these liberal Democrats around the country, and the ones we have here. Our governor's one of them. You know, that they're not going to go along with this agenda that they have.
On the issues, Rispone opposes abortion, the death penalty, and gun restrictions. He supports full funding of TOPS while freezing Medicaid expansion, and he wants a constitutional convention to let delegates choose where to slim down state spending. Rispone says just as President Trump inspired him to run, he hopes he's inspired other business people to join the political arena.
If you're elected Saturday, whatever the margin, there will still be a group of voters who didn't vote for you.
Yes.
What would you say to those if you were to
become
their governor?
I'm going to create jobs in Louisiana, and they're going to get those jobs whether they're a D or an R. It doesn't matter to me. Whether it's north, south, east, or west, it doesn't matter either. You know, I'm going to represent the state of Louisiana.
Harrison Golden, your local election headquarters.
Good Sunday morning to you. Thanks for watching This Week in Louisiana Politics on your local election headquarters. I'm Fred Childers. We're going to start the show off a little differently today. Obviously, I'm joined in studio here by Senator John Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana. Thanks for coming on the show, Senator.
Thank you for having me, Fred.
You're starting off our show today. You're in what we call the A block, so I guess that's congratulations to you.
I'm not going to ask you what A stands for.
It's just ABC.
Okay.
That's all. All right. So we want to start with the freshest news, which was you were at a Trump campaign rally in Murrow, Louisiana. This is for the gubernatorial Republican challenger, Eddie Rispone. You got on stage and you basically called Speaker Pelosi dumb. You've gotten some criticism from that. Do you regret saying it?
No. I meant no disrespect, as I said, but I think it was very accurate. I think what the Speaker's doing is not only dumb, it's dangerous. This is going to be the first partisan, 100% political impeachment in the history of our country. I worry it's going to set a new normal. Someday we'll have a new president. Someday we'll have a new Democratic president. By normalizing this, there will be half the country saying, well, you know, we don't like the new president. Impeach him. Impeach her. You did it to Trump. Now do it to them. I think it's very dangerous. for American democracy. I'm also offended by the process.
Is it illegitimate? Do you believe it's an illegitimate process?
It's totally rigged. It's like a professional wrestling smackdown. It's all scripted. And everybody knows it. It's been done in secret.
Adam Schiff is trying to impeach a president of the United States.
While congressional Democrats are leading the inquiry on impeaching President Trump, some Louisiana Republicans say their state can do something about it.
If you're upset about what's happening to President Trump, go to the polls November the 16th and vote for his candidate for governor, which is Eddie RISPONE.
Indeed, President Trump enjoys modest marks in a new Nexstar JMC Analytics poll, with more Louisianians against the impeachment inquiry than for it. But pollster John Couvion is less sure that impeachment views will sway the governor's race.
I don't think it would move the needles more than it's been moved right now, for the simple reason is, number one, Governor Edwards has sidestepped any specific criticism of Donald Trump, which is, of course, a smart approach in this state.
When it was time for governing, he invited me to the White House 9 times.
Governor John Bel Edwards has not voiced any support for Congress's impeachment effort, a stance Couvion says is helping the Democrat lead RISPONE right now by 2 points.
You can't be the best governor for the state of Louisiana if you don't have a good working relationship with the president, regardless of the party of the governor or the party of the president.
Though some of RISPONE's backers remain less convinced.
Well, of course, Governor Edwards supported President Obama. He supported Hillary Clinton. He's deeply tied into the National Democratic Party. It is a national race. It's not only a state race. It's a national race that affects the future of our country.
But the governor maintaining his job is to tackle state, not national issues.
And the people of Louisiana, they know me.
Those people of Louisiana will have their say November 16th. Harrison Golden, your local election headquarters.
According to a primary results map, Livingston Parish sits as an outlier in a sea of blue, with a majority voting in support of businessman Eddie RISPONE. Parish President Leighton Ricks says the parish is full of business people and entrepreneurs who want to keep the money local.
But we have a lot of people in our parish that work hard, that just feel like they don't like the giveaway programs that a lot of the Democratic Party stands for now.
Ricks says Governor Edwards has been great to work with, supporting Livingston Parish through disaster. However, Ricks believes the overwhelming support for the Republican Party has everything to do with Eddie RISPONE's support of President Trump.
In Livingston Parish, we want President Trump to have more control than what we do necessarily Washington. And again, he's Republican, representing a Republican, so we wished he would take control and do for our parish what we think needs to be done.
Of the more than 36,000 votes, Eddie RISPONE took 53%.
It's very important because that was his strongest parish in the entire state, but Livingston Parish to me is part of several building blocks that have to be constructed for him to defeat Governor Edwards in the runoff.
For victory over Edwards, Couvion predicts RISPONE will need enthusiastic support from Congressman Ralph Abraham.
The real issue is he's got to be able to pick up the Abraham vote in Acadiana and, more importantly, in Northeast Louisiana.
A plan that is only the starting point to increasing voter turnout.
We're going to wake up. Thank God for President Trump. He stepped up and said we can do something different by electing a different kind of president. We're going to do the same thing in Louisiana.
Now remember, that runoff is scheduled for Saturday, November 16th. One key difference in the 2019 runoff compared to Governor Edwards' last race is a seemingly more unified Republican Party. President Trump, the Republican Governors Association, and U.S. Senators John Kennedy and Bill Cassidy are all supporting Eddie RISPONE's bid against the Democratic incumbent. The party unity grows as both Edwards and RISPONE launch advertising blitzes this week.
The Democrats and or Republicans are going to have ground teams of voters working, starting with early voting, to physically turn out the vote. In other words, they're not going to leave anything to chance and figure people will just go vote on their own.
So far, Ad Age magazine says Republican and Democratic groups have spent $32 million in this race. And speaking of ads, we're already seeing both campaigns trade punches just 8 days after the primary election. RISPONE is doubling down on keeping his image aligned with President Donald Trump. Newly released ads show highlights from President Trump's rally in Lake Charles. RISPONE never makes an appearance in the ads, a stark contrast to what the campaign of Governor John Bel Edwards is putting out.
Louisiana cannot take 4 more years of a liberal Democrat governor raising your taxes.
4 years ago, you elected me to pull Louisiana out of the ditch.
Now, Edwards talks about working on both sides of the aisle to get state finances in check. Edwards suggests that RISPONE will return Louisiana to the days of former Republican Governor Bobby Jindal, and that is a frequent target of Edwards. As those primary results came in on Saturday and it became clear that we were heading to a runoff, I had a chance to sit down with political analyst John Couvion to get his immediate thoughts on what the month ahead might look like for RISPONE and Edwards. So because he didn't get 50% of the vote, Governor John Bel Edwards, he will now head into a runoff.
Yes.
So the two Republican challengers, what they got tonight, if that's combined, I mean, theoretically, if that works out perfectly, they have a shot at beating, or RISPONE has a shot at beating John Bel Edwards.
Correct, especially since President Trump will now have a full-throated endorsement of RISPONE in the runoff. Now, I would caution your viewers that I don't believe that Governor Edwards is an absolute goner, because he did get 47% of the vote, number one, and now that it is him one-on-one against a Republican, and this false narrative that his campaign had peddled about winning with an outside majority is now been dispelled, I think there'll now be some urgency when it comes to Democratic get-out-the-vote efforts come November 16th. So it's going to be a nip-and-tuck race.
You feel like Republicans are going to pour, on a national level, Republicans are going to pour a lot more money into this race?
I do, and Democrats. Because the thing you have to remember is the Democrats certainly don't want to lose their one beachhead in the Deep South.
Right, and Abraham, he had a, throughout the night, there were some close calls where it looked like he could have come in second place and headed into the runoff. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics. I'm Fred Childers. If you didn't vote early, be sure to head out to your polling location this Saturday to make your choices in this crucial election. I'll bring you the results of those elections next Sunday right here on your local election headquarters.